it's Sean with the good dog. Hey, it's Sean with the good dog. Hey everyone, this is Sean with the good dog, and this is episode 87. It's all about state of mind.
Hey!
In the same room.
Reunited!
And it feels so good.
Do you think we pulled the wool over anybody's eyes last time that we were in the same room?
I don't think so.
No?
I think they knew.
Was it because I was like, so Laura, how you doing? Or,
I think
so Laura,
what do you
think?
around all that stuff, but yes, it might have had something to do with it.
You might want to release another version of that.
With you just doing
where I'm
your whole
like talking
thing.
to you like this.
Anyways, is actually just you doing your original thing.
My first pass.
Funny, yeah. You said your line, and then you looked at the camera or looked at the computer, the script, and then you looked back, and you're like, how are you doing today? So good.
It was really hard, guys.
Yeah.
We had to do the show. You know, Laura was in LA, I was in New Orleans, Belladocious. And Laura kind of wrote up a little script for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a lot. I mean, she's been through, she's been an actress and been through acting school. She knows how to take this stuff and put it into action.
Right.
I was like, how are you today? I was a little stiff. I didn't really know how to work it.
You did great.
But I tried to have some fun with it.
You did great.
I tried to have some fun.
Turned out awesome.
And some of our, honestly, some of our best questions, I think, and responses ever, even though the formatting might be a little wonky, I think, the answer to the question of the week was really important.
Yeah.
You want to rap about that real quick? Because I know you had some feelings about that. We've gotten major responses. Is that an indicator that you don't want to talk about?
No.
We've had major responses from the question of the week that went out on, I think, Wednesday, which would have been yesterday, which for question of the week was, just to recap for those of you who haven't seen it, I'm going to move move my cap back so you guys can see my eyes. So we had a 130-pound lab, jealous, growling, and making nasty overtures towards a brand new baby, and the husband kind of in denial and making excuses for it, and the mom not knowing what to do and feeling worried and concerned.
Yeah.
We delivered some pretty firm, strong, heavy kind of opinions and suggestions, and I know you wanted to add on, just kind of build on that, just to create some clarity.
Well, I think we were talking about a pretty sensitive situation, and I also wanted to shout out to the girl who asked the question, because that's to put yourself out there.
Tough stuff.
Yeah, and ask questions that where everyone's chiming in and talking about your situation. I mean, I applaud her so much for just being super open about what her issues were, and it doesn't make you a bad person because you don't know what to do with a situation.
Absolutely.
You asking for help, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention that. Then the other thing is a dog like that, we we're fine with being hey, if a dog needs a correction, for doing something that's not right, and the dog's been fairly trained, you find a level that works for the dog, right? But there were a couple comments, I think, on the question of the week where there was just talking about this is the heavy conversation that owner needs, or that the dog needs, or something like that. And I wanted to clarify that that dog may need no level higher than an 8 on the educator, on the e-collar mini. Some dogs that we get in here that have the laundry list of issues, we are not get that collar on the dog and let's
light him up
because he's bad. It's that dog, that's why I said he just needs to be trained start to finish. In the video or in the answer, I was he just needs to be trained. He could be start start becoming accountable on an e-collar at level 7 or 8 and be like, oh, cool. Okay, yeah, I stay in place. No
I think
problem.
there's a lot of misconceptions maybe about how we train and how we go about doing stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's some misconceptions about like kind of going out, and that we like just like start guns a-blazing, and like I just to kind of tie it back in with, say, like Clementine was a dog that came to us for a lot of similar behavior, less jealousy, more uncertainty about the baby, growling and really uncomfortable with the baby. And we didn't do any heavy stuff with Clementine. Everything was all foundational training, all removing like stress, all removing anxiety, all creating foundation and structure, leadership, clear accountability. This is dog land, this is human land. No explosive stuff.
All the stuff you guys see. Place command. Recall. If you lay down, you don't get up right away. All that stuff, that takes away the anxiety that is behind growling at the baby. Like that, if
people have a really hard time getting that concept, though. I think that no matter how many times we hammer it home, I know a lot of you guys get it, but I know a lot of folks still struggle with, like, I posted up a blog today about permission-based training, and somebody was really struggling with understanding the language behind it. It didn't make any sense to them, so I've got to go back and try and help explain to them. So not everybody gets it. It doesn't always make sense to everybody, but and
I just, it's so important, like, for us to work with a dog that has those issues. He wouldn't, if that dog came to us for a board and train, we wouldn't come in here and be like, come on buddy, you're mean to that baby, or you're demanding with your owner. We'd be like, all right, let's get started. We'd have some.
We start the same way
with every dog,
right?
Foundation, low level. Start with prong collar training, just so they get used to it. Relationship building through work, not through petting or treats or cuddling. We do work with the dog, and the dog. The first thing that they start.
Cuddles when no one's looking.
Cuddles, yeah. But there's a lot of just like, hey, walk with me. Come over here, lay on this bed, light prong collar pressure, move to e-collar pressure on top of it. Then you start to get a dog that trusts humans are going to guide them and actually is accountable for actions. Like I put you on this mat, and you've learned now for 5 days that that's where you go, and you get a correction, not at 40, maybe at 8. If you're a 130-pound lab, we've had giant dogs that like an 8 on a mini educator's like, never mind, right? So just so you guys know, that I would never like high level correction that dog without doing a full program. That's why we're not just talking about like aversion training all the time. Like if that dog did a full program, was fully e-collar trained, and was still getting like weird and barking when the baby was around and stuff like that. Time. Finding a level that matters, which could be 15, could be 40, could be
doesn't
90,
matter. It means knock off that negative behavior because it's dangerous and can lead to bad stuff. But it always starts with foundation.
Always.
So just good clarity. I know that Laura wanted to make sure that she shared that, so folks weren't thinking it's like, cool, we've got a dog with baby issues and let's blow his mind until he doesn't do that anymore.
Worst thing you could do. The worst thing you could do would be to get an e-collar on that dog, not have much foundation, and he's getting weird around the baby, and correct him at a high level. That's like, I can't even think of a worse like outcome.
So Duke, the video of Duke blew up. People really dug that. So Duke was the, and I've had some people remark that he looked more like a Dogo Argentino, and I agree. We don't really know what his background is, but he could be a pity Dogo, or he could be more Dogo. Who knows? We haven't put him in for DNA testing, but that video of Duke and his resource guarding stuff, which was pretty freaking heavy duty, major fights with the other dogs in the house, and I'm talking major knockdown, drag out fights with the other dog in the house, also being aggressive around his humans with food, and then being able to show that transition, show also creating a really comprehensive communication style with e-collar and hand signals, and then working through resource guarding protocols, and then coming out on the other side with an awesome dog. We just got a comment from his mom today, who responded to the video that was posted, because a lot of people had a lot of like really nice stuff to say and were really supportive. And she was just talking about how Duke is just like a different guy, and because she also did a little bit of e-collar training with their other dog that was a sweet girl, Kaya, but really insecure and who used to have problems around other dogs. They were actually able to take Kaya to the dog beach and have Kaya like have a good time and recalling, because the e-collar creates an invisible leash where you can actually have contact and communication with your dog, which causes your dog to make different choices. So anyways, that, if you haven't seen that video, check it out. Really proud of it. I think Duke is doing awesome. And we're so happy that we were able, because they're just awesome people, so happy to be able to help them.
Yeah, you just don't get outcomes like that with clients that aren't committed like that.
No.
Like you just,
they're the heroes. They're the ones that kick the butt in this game.
I love to say it doesn't work unless you do. So it really is it.
So, and I'm going to try and move through the rest of the stuff really quick. It sounds like there's Indian food like shimmying around out there. So, and dogs like following. I wish I was following. Anyways, okay. I just got back from Nola yesterday. I flew in last night. Gee, my arms are tired. Sorry, terrible joke. But back from Nola after 3 weeks, right? It took you a second. It's so old that it took like, had to go through files.
Right.
And your dad's probably like laid that joke on you like a million times back in the day. Anyways, so back from Nola after 3 weeks, you were there for a week. We did our first e-collar workshop. It was so cool, so much fun. And I know we talked about it a little bit, so I won't go into it, but it was awesome. We then set up an LA workshop because everybody was like, LA workshop, LA workshop. Sold out completely, Dunsky,
gone.
like a Bieber concert, right?
Yes.
Right? Or a Drake concert.
Or Drake concert,
I know you prefer that. I like Bieber because it was less cool.
I mean, Bieber is cool.
The Biebs. So, but now we have a secondary set of dates. Do you actually have them?
We will put them up right here.
What, here?
Right here.
Here. We'll be right there.
Right
okay,
there.
great.
Because we don't know them at this second, but they're up there.
Yeah. So
email us.
Yeah. So anybody who's looking to get into our next e-collar workshop because they missed this one that just blew out.
Let us know.
That's and do it quick because it's probably going to go again. It's going to be here in LA at Chatsworth, and it's going to be awesome. Okay, and then we're painting the joint, so luckily you don't get to see too much of that. This place is like in full disarray, but it's going to be beautiful, awesome, pimped out, and especially in time for the e-collar workshop, which is super cool. Real quick. Somebody got bitten the other day. I've taken my bandage off. I've still got some I don't know if you can see, but like this was the light part of it.
It's pretty tight, so you probably have to lift it up.
This was the light part of it that I thought wouldn't be anything. This was the one where the tooth went all the way like down into the bone and then like came out the other side of it. No, well, not really, but like this was the one I was worried about. This one's done really well. This was the one where the infection got really nasty, and everybody heard about the pink streak of death that started like literally in 8 hours. I woke up, I was like, well, I wonder like the blankets have really left a trail going. I was like, oh, that's not from the blankets. Boy, my armpit hurts. And so I went to the doctor and had massive infection going on like that. And we're still having a little bit of healing stuff going on here. Wasn't a bad bite, but the infection was nasty. So let that be a lesson to you. Get yourself to the doctor, get it checked out. I waited about 30 minutes with to betadine it when I should have, well, I waited longer, truth be told. I didn't have any betadine. I just used dishwashing detergent, which I use for everything because it really is like...
Should have just gone in.
I should have. You recommended. Anyways, healing up, getting back to normal. I mean, I can move it now. It was the size of like Polska kielbasa. And but now it's down to the size of like, I don't know, something else. So anyways, that's that. Boy, has this been a long introduction. I'm sure Laura will cut out 99% of what I have to say.
Part of it isn't the introduction, it's also explaining our position and stuff like that. So it's
worthwhile. Okay, so you approve. Okay, guys.
You want to introduce?
I would love to.
Do it.
Okay. Or do we just fly in Henri?
No, we'll do her at the beginning.
Okay, or maybe we'll like ABM. Okay. Hey everybody, it's Sean from The Good Dog. And to my right is the lovely Laura Morgan and her I'm going to call these BMW M4 Blue.
Yes.
Because they look just like, I looked at a BMW M4 that I was in love with, and I swear it looks just like the color.
It totally does.
It's pretty pimped out, pretty cool, pretty nice.
I love it.
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of, I don't know, maybe this is a generational thing, but there was a crayon called Cerulean in the crayon box. Cerulean.
I remember a cake called Sara Lee.
No.
Something
Cerulean
different?
is like Cerulean, and I used to always pick that crayon because it had this color. It's like bluish, purplish, like very like.
It's a special thing, and if you want to go really far back, there was a Yamaha drum set that I was madly in love with.
Wow.
That was that blue color, and I wanted it so bad, and I never got it because I was financially deprived and had a horrible childhood.
Could always go back.
Just kidding.
Deep blue in color, like a clear sky. That was always my favorite color to paint with.
Is it called Herculean?
Cerulean. It was like that. It was kind of like that, but lighter. Like
Yeah. No, that was definitely like more. Well, it looked kind of like an 80s color. Anyways, guys.
The 80s. Okay, guys.
Flashing back. Anyways, this, all this stuff that you can't see, luckily because it's in disarray, is the Good Dogs Q&A Saturday, episode number, which one do I do?
You're the second number.
Episode number 85.
Woo,
this is one I can do real
one
easy.
for you.
Oh, thank God. Whew. It always is a little challenging. Anyways, with that, let's jump in. We got 5 questions, and I want us to rock and roll through these because there's Indian food that needs to be tended to. Stop tap dancing down there, Manny.
After like 3 questions.
Who is that? Is that Manny?
Question number 1.
Okay, sorry.
This comes from Rachel. Rachel says, "Hey guys,
focus.
I have 3 dogs and I live on my own. I can't currently afford e-collars for everyone." Sounds like Cujo. "But I work with prongs. The most frustrating issue in the house is when people and other dogs walk by the house. As soon as one of them sounds the alarm, they all go nuts, and I struggle to get and maintain each of their focus. Any tips? Thanks in advance. Love you guys." Aw, Rachel.
I love the love. I love the love.
So good to hear from you, Rachel.
Yes, and not Rachel the bear, but another Rachel, right? Rachel the bear's left the house. She's like,
I understand all this stuff.
You guys can make enough jokes about my name, and now I've moved on to greener pastures and more professional, mature associations. Hopefully. So the cheap version of how to sort this out is, I think your dogs are all on prong collars. You can get long lines off of Amazon, 15-foot long lines. It's going to be messy. It's not going to be perfect. But like anytime your dogs start... Who's making that noise? Anytime that your dogs start to go bananas at door, you've got dog and door like reactivity stuff going on, like at the windows and nuttiness like that. So long lines, prong collars on, pop corrections, let them know, hey, knock that stuff off. Depending on their intensity, that could work really well. It's a little bit of a pain because you have to have the prong and long line on, and so it can be like messy, like spaghetti stuff around, on the floor. But it's definitely a less expensive kind of approach, because I know you said that e-collars were kind of out of your price range. The second approach would be the more expensive one, which is save up for that triple e-collar, or like Laura mentioned, get one e-collar and start working your dogs individually and see if you can make some headway like that, right? Basically, put your other dogs away, work one dog at a time, and start correcting, after, of course, doing some foundation work with recall. You've heard it all before, I'm sure.
Yeah, if you have a recall in a place with each dog, like if you work recall in place with each dog with one e-collar, someone maybe could sell one. There's probably something like on eBay or something like that, even like a dog tray or whatever it is. So then you have one e-collar, you teach each dog recall and place, right? So then you usually, if the 3 dogs, will have like one of the worst ones. So if you have one kind of instigator, you work all 3 of them with the recall and the place, and then maybe when you start working them all together, put the e-collar on the instigator, put the other 2 on cheap long lines and prong collars, right? And then you can correct the main instigator for the barking. Then all of you guys come, and if the ones with the long lines on don't come, you can correct with the prong and then pull them towards, give them a little leash pressure to bring them towards you.
Yep.
And then the one that has the e-collar on, you correct. So you have kind of like a system where they're all accustomed to listening either on their own, and of course when everything gets heightened they're going to listen less, but at least you have a way to correct and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you can get dummy collars too, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what you could do is you could just do exactly what Laura said and train individually, and then you could purchase, I think through e-collar technologies, you can get dummy collars which feel to your dog like, okay, I've got the collar on, and will most likely cause your dog to make better decisions just having that dummy collar on, and that might give you a little bit of leeway as you work towards saving up towards a 3-dog set. You might even be able to find a 3-dog set. I would go with like the Easy Educator.
Yeah.
And you might be able to grab one of those off of eBay or.
I'm just looking on eBay, but there's all sorts of new ones. But yeah.
Yeah, I would do a little research.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's a couple of good approaches.
Here's one, Pro Educator dog e-collar. It's like my Pro. It's on here for auction for $100. You could start there. There's a Mini Educator on here, 7 bids for $76 you could get on there.
That's cheap.
That's eBay, so you can get onto eBay, or you can get on Craigslist, or you don't even have to get e-collar tech or Dogtra. You can get something else, just at least for the time being,
Yeah, I think it's a good approach, and if you can get one dog trained at a time, I mean, you can really start making some headway. And I know you've talked about them kind of like chain reaction stuff going on.
Yeah.
If you can start to like mitigate that, you can kind of break the chain, right? So if one dog's like, I don't do that anymore, you might find the other dogs being much more easy to deal with. So kind of like you snip the chain, and then the dogs are like, uh-oh, we don't have our whole gang to kind of like lean into.
Totally.
So check that out, see what you can get. And like Laura said, do some research. I think you can find some pretty cheap collars on there and make it happen. So, Rachel, I hope that helps.
That helps. Let us know.
Yes, please. And this one comes to Miss Morgan.
Me?
Yep.
Why?
Little old you.
Okay, question number 2 says, hey, this is from Georgia. Georgia says, hey, I was born there.
Georgia.
I have 3 dogs, 2 older females.
Didn't I say that you were born in England in one of these episodes?
Did you?
Yeah, I did. You were like, I was born in Georgia. I was like, oh, that was close.
I have 3 dogs, 2 older females and a young male. 95% of the time things are great, but every once in a while the 2 females fight and they aren't playing. The first incident was probably 6 months to a year after the male came along, and it was bad. Stitches, teeth lost and broken. Since then there's been one other big fight and a few quarrels. Although both girls are missing a lot of teeth from previous fights, they can't do much damage. Hey, there doesn't seem to be any underlying or constant cause for the fights, and as soon as I can, I break them up. The girls just want to be close to each other and lick the wounds that were just inflicted. I'm at a loss of what to do. Any advice? The eldest is 14, and I know she's old, and I'm scared for another big one, as she doesn't have much fight left.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 dogs, a young male.
There's some cheat sheet notes if you would like to draw from the expert opinions.
You guys know, like, I was listening to Brittany and...
Oh, she got the timer going on, too.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Did you get 6 minutes?
Everyone gets 6 minutes.
I thought it was 5.
When we have like a long, when you want to add questions.
When it's my turn, it's 5 minutes.
It's always
when it's
6.
yours, you get 6.
All right, never mind. I'm just going to skip forward. So I'm just going to say that the
do your thing.
Everything I say is just, I've listened to Sean now for 5-6 years talk about stuff, and I just love, like, I'll hear random things that Brittany will say, not that she just says everything that you say, but I'll hear stuff and I'm like, that's Sean. That's awesome. I love hearing, or I'll hear myself say a phrase on the phone or something, and I'm like, that's Sean. That's
all we do is, like, honestly, I was talking to Shelby about that today, like, really quick. Just that, like, how we have some core values and sensibilities and principles and concepts, and we all just kind of we filter them through our own lens and then share them in our own way. Exactly. And it's so cool to hear, like, come back from you or Britt, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool way to say it.
Right. Yeah. No, and I always learn stuff from Britt or Shelby or Ray stuff. Okay, so...
I'm trying to mess with your time.
No, I just reset it. So this is definitely a challenging situation, as his notes say, because I feel the same way about that. I would say, you said that the fight started when the male came along, right?
Damn dudes.
Those guys. My guess, and we can't be sure because we didn't get the information, my guess is that young dog is causing some disarray in the energy, if you want to call it that, probably a little bit more, I don't know what his attitude is, unless he's totally chill, totally structured. Yeah, the male. Unless he's like low energy, chilled out, structured, listens to you, doesn't add anything to the environment, then I'm totally wrong. But my guess is that adding that extra element kind of broke up what was harmonious before, and usually it's because he's bringing up the energy in just all contexts, and probably maybe even if it's light chaos, causing a little bit of chaos. Always gonna blame the dude, aren't you? No, not at all.
Yep.
The thing that always in these situations, sometimes it's management, a lot of it can be management, but a big thing is just getting all of the dogs in structure. So all of the dogs, I'm hoping and assuming that you have some training maybe with these girls. If you don't, getting them trained either on prong collar or e-collar is the way that we suggest things, getting them like a strong place command, having duration where they're actually working around each other, and this includes having the male in on the same exact thing. So your dogs, instead of just kind of freewheeling, they're all always in a spot. And this isn't forever, but this is right now, because we need to get them coexisting in a way where
out of freewheeling into listening.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk to clients on the phone that are talking about fighting dogs, and I hear the dogs are just wandering, I get chills down my spine. It makes me so nervous for the dogs, especially in a situation like this where you have a 14-year-old dog. So we want to get that dog to be more trusting, but both of them need to be more trusting of that their environment is more handled. And that's the way that they don't want to handle it themselves, right? Yeah. So they're taking care of it because you're not. So, and the way you take care of it is not by, Caesar Milaning it up and acting all like whatever. That how Caesar? No, I'm not dissing Caesar, but Caesar's got a very strong presence, right? And I'll hear people on the phone like, "Oh, I try to get calm, and I try to I'm like, yeah, that's great, but also we need to add a little bit more to that. Caesar kind of has that naturally, so you can take care of things by giving them more to do, more structure, more rules, not allowing them to just run the place. Yeah. But definitely not allowing that young dog to run the place, because that could definitely be part of all the kind of
there could be some possessive competition kind of stuff going on.
Just kind of like an upset in the balance that was there before. So
you're thinking less possessive and less competition and more just a disruption and kind of like the flow thing.
So I don't know what the dog's acting like. She'll probably write back and be like, "Oh no, he's perfect." But I'm just going to throw this.
No, but it's interesting. That's why it's so cool to hear like different perspectives here.
So Sean and I have a really good rapport, and we're really easy with each other. Good friends. I knew. We have a really good time together. We have a really easy thing. That's why we work together well. It's why we're great friends and been like that for many years. So, but I've seen before. No, I've seen people come into our space, a client, a friend, just an acquaintance, anything along any lines that has more tension, more skepticism, more cynicism, whatever you want to call it, right? Yeah. Some whining,
toxic,
or some just
negative
toxic
vibes.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And
I like where you're headed with this.
To get on edge. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'll see myself like we'll get on edge almost like with each other, and it's not because they're making us like they're not like trying to pin
we're all heavily susceptible to influence. Dogs too.
So if you have two dogs that have been living harmoniously together, a dog comes in the picture, even if he's like great, but he's a little bit like, I take this. Oh, I bark at the door. Oh, I do this, and I'm kind of like in your space, and I'm in mom's space. I'm in mom's. It makes you tense. It's like if you've ever been in a room with a kid that's like running around, even though it's not your kid, and they're running around and like about to break things or hurt themselves, and you start to like, oh my gosh, just stop, and it makes you tense. So I don't know if the dog's perfect, he's perfectly trained, then don't listen to me.
Forget about all that stuff.
But my guess is that since he showed up, there's some upset. So let's get him trained. Let's get both of them in a good space and actually working around each other. No more free roaming.
Yeah.
You need to have them in crates separately when you're not there, so there's no grudges. If you see any weirdness or any stiffness, you're seeing this like posturing, possessive stuff.
Staring.
If there's toys out, food out, anything like that, that all needs to be put away. Right now, we don't need any more grudges being created. So,
and I actually recommend that, corrections for if there's any posturing, staring, like whether it's in a crate, dog walking by, anything, or from place, anything like that, that needs to go.
Yes.
That's the beginning of the sequence of escalation. So you got to nip that in the bud, or if you were T-Money, in the butt. So, but it's really, really important that you guys go after these little moments of escalation before they turn into big moments.
Totally.
There was something else I was going to say. But just let me just but also be really careful with affection stuff, right? Because affection stuff is a real heavy duty trigger, especially like if Laura says like the energy shifted in the house, then all of a sudden you've got things that are feeling up for grabs. That comes all back to like highly leadership based environment atmosphere, because dogs don't compete or possess or try and own leaders. They compete, possess, and own human beings that are up for grabs. So I'd really like you to hold on to that, like lock it down, do some ass kicking in the most positive sense of the word.
Ass kicking, like just being a leader to help out your dogs that are struggling. They're fighting, they're struggling. It's all these things, guys, are just symptoms of what's going on upstairs. So it comes out in different ways. Some dogs have separation anxiety. Some dogs chew their paws. Some dogs attack other dogs. Some dogs attack each other. Some dogs attack humans, whatever. That's just stuff of like stress, not sure what to do. So you give them something to do, you take it by the reins, and then you have dogs that feel different about everything.
Make you a bet. Send those 3 dogs to us. And not that you can, because it's not on the house, but send those 3 dogs to us, and I guarantee you they wouldn't fight. I guarantee you we would, and this is not to diss, but it's just because we would lay down the law, we would create heavy duty accountability for any crappy choices, and we would structure the heck out of it, and we would watch for little moments, and what we would have is dogs in a very different state, and that's what we're trying to get across to you. So if you can run with all that, process it, and put it into action, you should be able to stem the tide of this stuff. Female dogs fighting, always challenging, but we've absolutely seen that you can make that stuff happen and create good progress.
Let us know. It's not going to be a short process. It's going to be time. But
ass kicking time.
Thanks.
What are?
These pants.
Those pants? They're small?
They just feel small.
Are the pants small, or is the occupant larger? These pants are...
No. These pants are small on me. Let me put it that way. That's a better way to put it.
Would they fit better on me?
Yes, most definitely. Have you girls ever, it's like the worst experience. Like, guys just have no, butt or anything. So you try to put on guys' pants and you feel, gigantic.
We all fill things out in different ways.
Okay.
Right?
That's true.
Live and let live.
Question number 3.
Okay.
Comes from Haley. Haley says, "Hey, Sean and Laura.
Ready.
First off, I want to thank you guys for recommending Jeremy at Majors Academy.
Jeremy!
Yeah.
Our dude.
Shout out to him. He's amazing.
He is.
After struggling for positive reinforcement only training for reactivity and secure bridiness, he helped me with my 3-year-old Robbie and gave us the best 8 months after training before she passed away suddenly." Wow. Oh, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have found Jeremy, and without Jeremy, we wouldn't have had the tools and knowledge to be able to give her a more comfortable, less scary world before she left it. Oh,
that's great.
He's in Green Bay in Wisconsin. If anyone wants to travel out to him, he's amazing.
Yeah, and just a solid dude.
Yeah, just amazing.
Somebody we love a lot.
Yeah, I wish he lived next door. He'd be that dude.
Yeah.
We now have a 1-year-old pitty mix named Doug, who's e-collar and prong collar trained as well. He has Doug. He has a really great temperament and loves everything and everyone, so my hopes is to get him therapy trained. I'd love him to be my main dude to come along with me. So he still has some work to do with excitability, but he has the foundation already to help a lot of people with continued training. I want him to be an ambassador for the breed. All that said, he's solid with the rest of the training on his e-collar. I want to get him certified and get his CGC, but they don't allow the e-collar or prong collar. How do you transition the dogs off the tools for something like this? I want to be able to use it in my everyday life, but will that be confusing for him? And how will he learn to not take advantage of not being on the e-collar when training for testing? As he does that already. I wish there wasn't a stigma. You know, it's such a bummer. I agree with you, Haley. So, okay, cool.
Haley, let me take a shot. I'm sure Jeremy Majors probably has some great insight and information for this as well.
Yeah, and he has like a question. You could throw that on there too.
Yeah, you can always double check, and unless of course Jeremy completely undermines everything I say, in that case, don't listen to him.
Don't listen to him at all.
Because he's still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Anyways, so here's what I'd suggest. So get your dog, and I know this is going to be super duper common sense, and you're going to be like, really, Sean? That's the best you can do? Get your dog so freaking solid on prong and e-collar that it's like mind-blowing. Like, I want that collar on all the time when you're supervising. I want that dog never having the collar not on, which is redundant because I just said that. And I want you to work your dog's butt like in all sorts of different contexts, environments, all sorts of different situations. Get him so rock solid with that e-collar and with that prong. And then I'd start doing like stuff with like what are like the CGC exercises. Like I did that with Belle, and you know, they have the things where you got to like walk up and like shake and your dog can't react, and like have another dog at a certain distance, and it's actually pretty easy to pass. It's not super complicated. So unless your dog's a little bit more of a live wire, and then it can be a little more challenging. But get your dog so ridiculously solid and so consistently working on those tools, and then start to ask for what I'd start to do is I'd start to ask for like CGC style behaviors with the tools on without doing any corrections and see what we get. And then I'd start to fade those tools. I would start to like take them off, see what we get. Okay, cool. We took the prong and the e-collar off. We're getting different reactions. So then I'd go back and I'd have to like, you know, practice. And there's no real like simple great answer for this. A lot of it has to do with your dog's attitude and temperament. If you've got a really pushy, challenging dog, that dog will likely try and give you a harder time when tools aren't on. If you have a very easy, compliant, malleable, eager to please dog, once they learn what you're looking for, a lot of times it's really easy with them. So a lot of this is going to be dog dependent. But like, just to get down to it, just practice your ass off with the tools. Get your dog so super duper solid that he's like, literally, like when I try and give people information about e-collar stuff, it's like, and they're like, when can I get rid of this or when can I get rid of that? It's just like practice so much on sit, down, place, recall, heel, that your dog forgets to even think about like, I've got another option. Like, you want to pattern it so deeply that the dog forgets that there's even an option to do something otherwise. And then once you get to that point, and I don't know where that's at with your dog, then you've got a shot at taking those tools off and then working through the CGC. And honestly, like I said, I don't think it's that hard to pass the CGC. So if you do all that prep work and you're really, really tough with it, you should be able to get your dog into a good space. Now, if you want to use your dog as a therapy dog and moving forward, and you can't use those tools in the future, then once again, it's dog dependent. It's gonna get down to like, what can your dog do without those tools, and how long will he hold on to good stuff before he starts pushing against it? If he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just like on a martingale and he's aces. So you really won't know until you try. And I wish I had like better information to give you, like as far as like
if he's a soft like personality and he's like pretty like easy about commands, maybe like blowing off some, like I think he'd still probably pass, right?
Yeah, I honestly, my feeling is this. I don't think you're going to have a hard time passing. Your challenge, because you can just practice. You can practice like 15 minutes up until the program, up until the testing, and your dog's going to be in a good space. The challenge is if you're looking for long-term being able to go into like hospitals or other therapeutic situations, making sure that your dog is still in a great space even without those tools. That said, one of my initial clients, she was an 80-something-year-old woman who had 2 golden retrievers, and they weren't e-collar trained, and they were on martingales, and they pulled like the dickens, and it still worked great. Do you know what I mean? People were still so happy to see the dogs.
Temperament-wise, they're sweet girls.
Right, and that's kind of like really a good point, because like if your dog is safe, friendly, warm, not completely ridiculous, like I would work on jumping or mouthing or any of that stuff, like that's like you got to get that stuff gone. And then even if your dog's not perfect, even if it pulls a little bit on the leash, even if it's not like a soldier and perfect, you'll still be fine. So that would be my suggestion, would be like do all the hard work, pattern the crap out of it, start to see what you can get, pass the first test by like practicing all the way up to the point until you do the testing, and then see what you're going to get as far as like once the tools are removed. I know you asked like how's the dog going to do once he knows like it's off. Like not every dog pushes against it. Some will, some won't. You'll have to find out what dog you've got.
Cool.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yes. Good luck. And if that question didn't satisfy, ask Jeremy and see what he's got to say.
I think Jeremy,
Jeremy better not
better say
contradict
everything
me,
you just
right? Or he's off of our recommendation list.
Always. Already is, just at that thought of it.
Just all right. I like it. Playing tough.
Okay. We've got question number 4. This comes from TK.
Is it just me, or does this feel like a long show?
Nah.
No? Feels good?
It's
Okay,
fine.
great.
You
All
just don't like being around me. So, all right. My question is.
I think it's because there's Indian food. I'm feeling impatient.
TK says, my question is, how do you teach a dog to ignore other highly aroused dogs? My pup walks beautifully. He can walk past a calm dog on the street, no problem. The problem arises when the dog coming the other way is overly aroused, dragging the owner, lunging at my pup. He begins to get worked up himself and then becomes overly aroused and becomes jittery and conflicted. If like he's going to stand heel, he's going to play with the dog or what's going on in general. I find at times he'll leave it. I guess Foos command will stay at a heel until the dog gets behind us and I hear it lunge back towards us. This assists him to charge forward and turn towards what's happening. Okay, so the dog's just like really reactive to like other dogs
when they get crazy.
They get worked up. Yeah. I move to the side to give room, but the dogs drag their owners towards us regardless of where we move to, unfortunately. I've almost tripped over a dog on a harness trying to get at my dogs.
Wow.
Which then my erratic movements caused him to get more crazy. He's a 1-year-old boxer golden retriever cross.
Wow,
mostly
interesting.
Well behaved, yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen a boxer golden retriever cross.
That. Okay, so basically, all right, so that's pretty common stuff. It's really hard for a dog to be around like nuttiness if they have any sort of reactivity in general. Sounds like you're kind of living in a war zone when it comes to like dog owners and dogs and stuff. You just may have to get more proactive with your like social cues. So if I was at the park the other day with my dogs and they're off leash on e-collar and I keep them in a pretty tight bubble, and I saw this woman walking her dog like totally out in front of her and just kind of losing, and she saw me with my dogs and I could see she was like kind of in this like, oh cool, and she like dropped the leash to her nutty boxer and he started like and so we just moved we kept walking pretty at a brisk pace away from them.
Yep.
And then she like kept coming closer to us. Yeah, hot pursuit. And finally I had to turn around and give her like one of these, like, please don't come any closer. And it's not the most fun thing for me to do. We've had incidents, plenty of things where we've had to say like, don't come any closer. My dog, like we did a little sketch on this, right? Like my dog bites. My dog's not friendly. My dog's nervous around other dogs.
Yeah.
Don't get any closer with your dog. There's there's one thing with body language, trying to move away from someone, but there's one where you actually address, like, human being to human being, this is what I would like you to do. So you might need to get a little bit more firm with the people that are coming up to you and causing your dog to get nervous around you.
Anyone who tries to, like, close the distance on my dog rues the day.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the most friendly, warm, nice, but like you try and, like, if you're not being conscientious or respectful about bringing your dogs into my space, you're going to hear about it and you're not going to like it.
No.
It's my job to keep my dog safe.
And that's really what it's all about. Your dog needs to feel safe with you. And if that means you telling someone to get out and to leave you alone, that's going to make your dog have more confidence in the situation, that the distance is never closed.
Yeah.
And if you're telling a human being, like, please stay away from me, and you're saying it in a firm tone and they're still coming close, that's when you can turn up the heat on that real quick. But but you likely won't, people sometimes just don't know. I know for a fact when I was probably like 16 or 17, and I used to walk my dog and Buddy, and all the time. And when you'd see other dogs,
Buddy was
he'd go
nobody's
nuts.
buddy.
No. He was crazy when he saw dogs. But then if I saw a dog and the dog was easy and my dog was okay, I was probably like, hey, can he come? I didn't know. And I was
Buddy
a bad
needs friends.
person. I was just happy that he wasn't reacting properly. So I think people just don't know. You have to give the benefit of the doubt that even if you're moving away and you're doing all this stuff, they may not even know.
Yep.
So you need to take the initiative, you need to say something. And then if they're still disagreeing with you when you're saying something, then you can be more
Sweep
firm.
the legs.
Yeah.
Karate Kid style. Sweep the legs. Go for that.
So that's it.
I'm just going to add, because I know there's a couple of minutes on there. So you said that you use space. Absolutely awesome stuff. We always use space. So if we've got a reactive dog, space is one of the main things that we're thinking about to reduce the stress. Yeah. We look for an immaculate heel. It sounds like you probably got something going on like that with Foos. I would look for a dog that, boom, does not move out of that heel position, right? I'm walking down the street, I see a dog that's down there, I'm already scoping it out, they're on a flexi, they're misbehaving, they're carousing and raising hell. Great, my dog is, boom, locked into a heel. And I'm going to create a little bit of a bubble around the nut job. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the e-collar. Is the second that my dog, who I know is going to be reactive to that, second that it changes from ears back and relaxed, and it's going to happen quick when it happens, and it goes to this and wrinkled forehead, I'm going to already be dialed up to a level that I know my dog cares a lot about, and I'm going to say no and correct right then. And if that doesn't change my dog's demeanor and my dog's reaction to that dog, I'm going to go up I'm going to roll up quick, and I'm going to say no again, and what I'm looking for is a state change where these ears and this forehead goes relaxed. And so that's kind of your job, is to get there quick. Use the space, use the immaculate. We're always talking about leverage, right? So all these different points of leverage help you have more successful outcomes. Doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect, but if you don't use enough space, if you let your dog move around or meander too much, if you correct too low and too slow, you're really your goose is cooked. So those are kind of our approaches for that stuff. There's some other things like step back recall. Your dog sees another dog, you can take a couple steps back, recall your dog back.
Yes, is that you're fine. You're having success if you don't have the craziness going on.
No, but that's precisely my point, is that when the craziness does present itself, that you have some options. Things like that, like step back recall, to where your dog has to refocus back on you, is a way to kind of get around, it doesn't stop the issue, but it can be a good kind of management issue, something like that. So that was a TK. Hope that helps, TK.
All right.
Go out and fight the good fight out there, buddy.
Let us know.
Don't let him push you around.
And when in doubt, just say he bites humans hard.
Relentlessly,
bloodletting happening here.
just tell him, ever since he tasted blood,
It's gone. It's all
he's
gone.
never been the same. All right.
All right. Thanks.
Next question. What about Indian food in my teeth?
Let me see.
I'm scared.
No, don't be. Let me see. I don't think there's anything there. That's great.
Yeah?
Clear.
Would you tell me?
Of course.
Okay, I'm just checking.
What are friends for?
That's what friends are for.
Question number 5 comes from, we just had a little Indian food break.
I need some auto-tuning for that, by the way.
Question number 5 comes from Candace. She says, I've been trying to catch you on Periscope, but I'll try it here. Could you take us back to when you were first transitioning into your business from valeting and tell us what you did to grow it from scratch? What was the biggest driving factor in your success, and what would you have done differently at the very beginning? And not to leave Laura out, I would love to know about your initial transition from client to business partner. Aw. Love you guys. Wish I could make it to T3, but my time off request was denied. Oh, Candace, I remember that. That's so sad. I'm so sad about that. Next time. Yes, definitely next time. Oh, it's a great question. Nice question to end the episode on.
What's that, is it a Wayne's World thing where it's like, right? Like a flashback?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Cool. So like, we're flashing back. Okay. Candace. How did I transition from poor, broken down valet to business owner and ruler of my kingdom? Well, that might be stretching it, but that's a really good question.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun question, and it's complicated, so it's hard to answer in kind of a quick, succinct thing, especially with my brain. But so, first thing I did was realize that things weren't where I wanted them to be, right? So I was valeting, I was 40, I was broke, I was unhappy, I was poor. Did I mention I was unhappy and poor? And like my credit was destroyed. I was living in a tiny spot. I had to borrow money if I had to take my dogs to the vet. Like I was getting hand-me-down cars from my folks, thank goodness. It was all like pretty rough and tumble for like a middle-aged dude. So I knew things were bad. But I didn't know what to do. Always searching, always looking, trying to find answers. But literally I had been stuck for so long that part of me, I think, thought, you might just be stuck forever.
It's your spot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I did was I stumbled onto some good books. Stumbled might be not the best term because I was looking always, but I got into personal development stuff, which I know has got like all sorts of like touchy-feely weird stuff that people are like, oh, you know, what is this culty kind of silliness? But like personal development stuff, when it's done right with people that actually are preaching the gospel, walking their talk, and living the life that they're actually talking about is a very different thing than people that are out there promising things. There you go, Junior. Promising things that they've never created, never built, don't live authentically, stuff like that. So I got into Larry Winget, and I got into Wayne Dyer, and I got into Randy Gage, and I got into Darren Hardy, and of course I got into Jim Rohn, and then several others along the way. But all these guys, you know, like I quickly learned, because I was studying my butt off, because I wanted to get the hell out of the 40-year-old stuck valet thing. I was studying my butt off. I found out very quickly that influence was a huge impactor, if that's a word, on your trajectory and where you're headed. And so what I did was the smartest thing I think maybe that I ever did, which is, you know, something we talk about at T3, is I did like my Stalin-esque purge, I always call it, which, you know, if anybody knows your history, Stalin was he was pretty ruthless with like getting rid of the folks that he didn't want around him. Mine was built on a more positive note. And that was basically, whether it was virtual or real, I got rid of everybody, whether on Facebook or Twitter. I don't think Instagram or that stuff was even around, but Facebook, Twitter, any of the virtual stuff, books, movies, audio, friends, family, associates, co-workers, anybody that didn't have the right stuff that I felt was going to move me in the right direction, toast, gone. And not in a nasty, mean way. I just moved away from them. I just created space, and what I did was I filled that space with all these other folks that were sharing really valuable information. For me, information that felt like truth. And so I started learning very simple concepts like personal responsibility and the power of influence, and my favorite saying from Larry, if your life sucks, it's because you suck, and all sorts of things that no one had ever taught me before. So I'd always been kind of stuck in this like blaming, not taking responsibility, accusing circumstances for where I was stuck at, blaming my family, blaming my boss. I mean, all, the same old, tired old excuses, as Jim so famously says, I threw my excuse list away, but some folks have found it and they're using it these days, I mean, it's because it's universal, like it's just human nature. We're looking for ways out so we don't have to take the heat ourselves. Luckily, I was in a space where I was so kind of beat down by things not going well that I was really ready to take a look at my responsibility in all this. And so to kind of cut to the chase, I did a ton of personal development work. Laura was like, early on, she would see me reading for hours and hours, and I'm a slow reader, so I was really trying to put time in and trying to kind of accelerate the process and play a lot of catch up. So I got rid of all the negative, I replaced it with all positive, which really accelerated where my mindset went, which started to change everything, right? So it took me out of this is all I can get, this is me, I'm going to be an employee, money is for crappy people that take advantage of others, how are you going to get ahead in this economy, how are you going to get ahead with this government? I mean, you could go on and on and on, and put me in a place of I don't give a crap about any of that stuff.
Right.
I'll make this stuff happen myself. I'll find my way, I'll create my own possibilities, my own opportunities, my own advantages, and if I don't, it's all on me. And that changed everything. When you go into that space of owning, you become super liberated. You become super liberated. I'm gonna need more time for this one. And you become super powerful and empowered. And so that was kind of the beginning of how that all started. And so then I decided I was really motivated by seeing Dog Whisperer and things like that. They're wow, dog training could be something where you're not just training dogs, but you can impact people's lives. And that became something really valuable, really powerful, and had a lot of pull for me. So started doing that, started doing dog walking while I was valeting. Always really careful, always really cautious. I didn't just dump the valet gig and be I'm gonna be the dog walker of all time. I stayed with the valet gig until the walking gig was solid. Then I stayed with the walking gig until the training gig was solid. And then I slowly jettisoned those as I kind of kept moving forward. Laura jumped on board to save my behind as things started building and actually becoming more and more demanding with client interactions and administrative thing. Just all this stuff that I was focused on some really great stuff, but I needed help with a lot of other stuff. Yeah. And luckily this lady had a lot of really great skills that I didn't have. So we talked about, or she said come on, let me help you out, and eventually I gave in, which was the smartest thing I ever did, and we quickly found that we had a really great synergistic, really fantastic chemistry and energy working together on ideas, literally sharing a brain. We could be talking about something and say the same thing. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it would happen all the time. And so we would text and call and be hey, what about, I was just thinking that, and then we go on and on and on. And so that's how it all kind of got started. It got started with deciding things are crappy, things are shitty, I don't want this anymore. How do I get out of it? Here's the roadmap. The roadmap is all of these positive people while getting rid of all of these negative people, changing the mindset, changing the beliefs, which changed the actions, which changed the reality, and got things moving forward while being cautious, while being smart, while bringing good people on, and then leveraging other people's strengths and ideas and what they bring to the table.
Goal setting too. Tons of things
Totally.
just setting things Sean was really good about putting stuff up that he wanted to do. I sent him a list the other day of things that there was an article on Success Magazine about like the 7 habits, not of just highly effective people, but 7 habits
like
of like
successful
people. And it just reminded me of him. He has like a relentless quality to going after his goals. And sometimes it's like almost like tunnel vision. Like I used to call it like Sean Land. I'd go over to like, or I'd call it the Great Pyramid Scheme in Sean Land, because I'd go over for like, okay, I'm just going to go over for a normal like 6-hour, 8-hour work day. You know, I had like 2 other jobs going on as well, and all of a sudden it'd be like 1 a.m. and I'd be like editing something for him, and he'd be over my shoulder like, oh, can we just do it, just one more thing, can we just do, and like at the time I probably wasn't as like laughing about it, but it was a very unique Sean quality that like,
and we were both kind of excited at the same time.
It wasn't like he was slave driving, but there was just there's an element of like literal, like the persistence was like
almost a desperation.
It had a desperate quality to it. And actually in this list that I sent him, they were talking about like that's actually normal for people that have some success, have successful like mindset. And so yeah, I mean, I think anything like as long, you know, he did all those things, but then he also had like really strong vision for what he wanted. And everything that's here today, I can say that I know you had it probably long before you even met me, but I know that together we definitely had this great vision 5 years ago of like a place where training, like a lot of training can be happening, a lot of great people working with us, a lot of awesome people.
Yeah, we've got that stuff written down.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought in a chart that you found when we moved with a ton of goals.
It's like from 2012 probably.
And there's a lot of stuff on there that's come to pass.
Yeah. And I remember when we wrote it out, we were like, this is going to be a big one. Like DVDs and like
who do we think we are,
and New Orleans, but we had really good like, you know, pushing each other, kind of like, hey, yeah, of course it's gonna work. Fuck yeah, it's gonna work, you know.
Yeah. the naivete about like this is what we want and we'll find our way.
Yeah.
The lack of honestly, the lack of cynicism, the lack of like reality, the lack of like how are you going to get there, because honestly like reality can be your biggest stumbling block, because reality will feed you a million different reasons why you can't get there.
I think Will Smith actually says like you have to be delusional to have huge dreams.
Yeah.
And I love that, because there are so many times I remember as younger, my early 20s, feeling like I was crazy, like I had like delusions, but I'm like, it's because, but I'm working for the delusion. I'm not just sitting there like, oh, I hope this is happening. I hope, like, I'm working hard for it, but my dreams are kind of like delusional. And when I heard him say that, I was like, yeah, great. Yeah. Okay, I'm on the right path.
Yeah, they have to be. Junior, get out of here. You're delusional. They have to be delusional because you're trying to create things that don't exist yet.
Yeah.
And there is a certain amount of like faith, delusion, whatever you want to call it, and like stepping into a chasm that you don't actually know where your foot's going to hit.
Yeah.
So there's all that stuff, and then of course we hustled our asses off. The real low down dirty truth about this is like all this like positive influences and leveraging each other's strengths.
That would be nothing without
we worked our butts off like
7 a.m. to 1 a.m. pretty much every day for
stacked with dogs,
2 years,
doing everything ourselves.
And then we'd take some time off. Like we weren't like, and we were having fun with it too. And then we'd like go spend 2 weeks in New Orleans. But in 2 weeks in New Orleans, all we do is be planning for the next bout of next thing that we're going to be doing, and then how we're going to grow and how we're going to grow into New Orleans market. And like, so we just had fun with it. I think like a lot of people see hustle stuff as being like, you know, oh, we got to trudge through this to get to the top of the mountain. But we really had fun and all that, and we still have fun. You know, it's still a constant.
Yeah, I mean, you can adjust your hustle. Hustle should be hard work, and trust me, both of us, like, there's no getting around this fact that like we do a lot of mundane, hard ass, like same shit every day.
Part of our week,
right? I mean, literally, like, I respond to every comment on Facebook and Instagram. That takes forever.
Right.
Laura's editing videos and overseeing and helping, you know, with the employees and with our marketing and structuring and branding plans. I mean, like, we're talking about lots and lots and lots of work. So you can't forget that part of it. So you got to leverage all the good stuff. And then just to kind of close this out, she asked how we got there. Besides all that, hustling all of the little things that are like not glamorous things, like going to vets, getting business cards made, a lot of stuff I don't do anymore.
A lot of free dogs, a lot of
free
videos
dogs, videos up the yin yang.
Most of the videos you see is funny. Like most of our like famous videos, like not Desmond, Woody, but like back in the day at Costello, we have a lot of great videos that got us a foothold. They're all dogs that were for free. Just come train with us. Let's figure this out. Like great clients or rescue people or something like that. Like the Manny video or like...
Anytime it was slow, our strategy was always to take free dogs and train them and video them and share it.
Yep.
Honestly, like, you want to know our secret of how we dug ourselves out? By giving away a ton of value, a ton of like quality stuff for free. And anytime it was slow, we would bring them in, find a way to capture it, and share it in a way that was helpful for people.
And I can say, you know, just from my end of that question, you know, I was in a job and I was in a great job. I was doing some other stuff that I was into. It was great. But as soon as I started working with my own dog with Sean, I was like, I love this. I love being outside. I love this, like, I love what he's doing. I loved Sean. Like, I was like, he's like, great. This is such a great person to be around. And like, I just remember trying to like figure out a way. And basically I like wormed my way in. I was like, hey, can I walk your dogs for free? And I'm going to take up dog walking gigs. So I was making like, at that time, probably like $40 a day, driving all around the city doing dogs like I did like cheap dog walks for some of our clients because I was like, but it cost me $10 in gas to get there and it was like 15 or $20 for the walk. And then I walked Sean's dogs for free and worked with him for free.
Yeah.
I had some savings that I was working on using, but I really wanted it so bad. And I think like, that's Cujo. I think,
But what also did you do during that time?
Well, I was writing.
But what you shared with me, like how important that drive, all those driving around, because all you did was listen to Jim Rohn the whole time.
My whole dog walking career, if I can even call it a career, was just listening to Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and books on tape, all the stuff that I needed. And it literally like, it's such a beautiful thing that now, I feel like the first time in like 5 years, I actually feel like there's a little bit of like progress being made in terms of like I look at this life right now is what I wanted when I was 20. And I didn't know how to get it, but I knew that there was a way and I was going to find a way. And you know, doing it with Sean and us working our butts off. But it took 5-6 years for me to finally feel like there are some days now where I'm like, where's like the 1 a.m. training session? Like where's all those like stuff? There's actually people helping out. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So there's nothing easy about it, but if you can have, you know, someone that's fun or just have some fun with it, it's gonna make it easy.
Yeah. And I
never were like, oh, another day, another dollar. Like
no.
Never.
And I think when it comes down to it, I always say the same thing, and it comes down to how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Like, we can give you all sorts of details and strategies and what did we do to get there, but honestly, the only thing, the common denominator, the theme that connects the connective tissue through all this is how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
And we both wanted it. And when we say it, we don't just mean dog training. We wanted we wanted growth, we wanted expansion, we wanted freedom, we wanted more financial freedom, we wanted
people around us that were great.
We wanted to build teams,
Yeah.
we wanted to build organizations, we wanted to do all these things. Yeah. So if you want it bad, the whole thing is, we always talk about drive. You want it bad enough, you'll find your answers. The answers are all out there. You just got to want it bad enough. And so I think that's a great way to close this out.
Yeah.
This has been the longest answer in the history of our world.
Well,
this is going to be a 3-hour thing.
But just real quick, I'll close this episode.
Close it. Close it, lady.
So my last thought is just about my favorite thing about Sean when I met him, besides all of the things.
Aww.
But my favorite thing was like watching him do work with stuff that he wasn't great at. And I mean that in a nice, kind way. It's like, not all of us are great at everything.
There's a lot of it.
He was trying so hard to like, he was just figuring it out, like flying by the seat of his pants, because what other way you're going to do it? He wasn't the guy who was like, oh, I'm going to set up, I'm going to first I need a facility, and then I need all these permits, and I need a bit, like, he didn't put the cart before the horse. He like went out on like a crazy Wild West horse ride, and he really just like, I saw him
I just jumped in the cart.
He literally like, he put together videos. He didn't know how to, like, he wasn't good at editing at the time. He wasn't
writing.
Like good at writing, but man, did he work his ass off on it. And I watched it and I was like, I kind of came from a different place where I was a little bit more of a perfectionist on stuff, and a little bit more like, I actually had editing skills, and I'd done some writing and stuff.
You were really talented at a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but I watched and I'm like, the difference between me with the skills and this guy who doesn't have that experience from before is he's fucking doing it. And that's like what got me into like, this is the person to put your money behind. You know what I mean? And I just, it's something that I think everyone should hear, because if you look back, go back to like 2010, 2011 on the Facebook page and look at Sean's writing, look at our very first videos, which were all him. Like, look at all that stuff and think about where the journey has gone. You read stuff now and you see videos of stuff that he's done now, and you're like, oh, well, I could never compete with that because it's just natural talent. Fucking no, it isn't. It's so far from natural talent, and I mean that in the nicest way.
You're absolutely
right. But he
right.
was just like so scrappy, and man, that's what you all need to be. And I considered myself scrappy, and I was like being like, I was always scrappy, but I was way.
That's why we got along so well.
Yes, but I also felt like, wow, I got bested in the scrappy department here.
Which is because I came from a more desperate place.
Yeah, which is great.
So,
great.
so
Blessings.
that's why sometimes folks that come from more challenging situations, come from more challenging situations, sometimes get a leg up just because the harder it's been, the more you want, the more desperate you are. There's that desperate thing again. The more desperate you are to try and like, prove your value, prove your worth, show that you can do something, create an impact in the world, be special, all of this stuff. And so I wouldn't change any of it.
No.
I wouldn't change any of it for the world.
Hug you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, that was special.
This girl.
Thanks, Candace.
Together, unstoppable.
The Brady Bunch.
Give me this. Boom. A Brady Bunch?
There's a line in the Brady Bunch movie where he says like, all like singly.
Could you like do like a thing where it's like all of us in the box and we're like looking up and down at each other?
Okay, we can do that.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Right.
This is going to be our first mini series.
Yes.
You'll have to watch this in like 5 different episodes. But that was really fun to answer.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Candace,
Thanks.
we'll miss you so much at T3. I hope to see you. You would have gotten that whole spiel in person, but now we gave it to you now.
All right, guys.
Love you.
We got to go. Any giveaways? Anything we need to know about?
Nothing today. Nothing today.
But we want emails from rescues.
I have one that's in the running and for next week, but any other ones.
Tell them
send
the email to send.
thegooddogway@gmail.com.
If you're a rescue or a shelter, tell us your story, why you want why you want the prong collar DVD. And we're sending out free copies to those who send out good stories. So we, feel good about sending it out to you guys. And we're slowly making a change, guys.
Yeah,
Things are changing. It's looking good. All right.
Thank you.
We got to go.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.